Hey guys, welcome to another Texas Bolt Action Battle Report. I'm here for a really special battle with my good friend Jimmy Garrett. Drove up from Houston, Texas. We're going to be doing a late war scenario today with the Germans and the U.S. Sort of a Rhine Valley kind of setup. It's early spring. The snow is not just yet melted. It's probably still really cold outside. And the Germans are kind of in a state of disarray, and the U.S. spearhead is going to be moving in. So I'll show you what the Germans are rocking with. I kind of went for like a mixed match of units, as toward that part of the war they were kind of starting to mix and match different units into single units. So we're going to be rocking with a veteran second lieutenant here. He's going to be helped out by a regular sniper, regular medium machine gun. We're going to have two Waffen-SS squads. One of them has two MMGs or LMGs, and the other one is going to have a lot of assault rifles. We have a 9-man inexperienced Volksgrenadier squad with the green rule, so that'll be interesting to see if they can become regular. And then we have one regular Heer squad with just rifles and machine guns. I've also got a regular medium mortar. I'm working with an inexperienced pack 40 and had to get a Tiger in there since it's late war. Sunk a lot of points into a regular Tiger, and then we have a regular Mag. So that's what the Germans are going to be rocking with. I think it's 10 dice. Most of the points were sunk into the squads themselves. We're going to go around here to the other side of the table. I'm going to show you what Jimmy is rocking with. The Americans are bringing on a few more men to the battle. We have a regular first lieutenant. He's going to have two veteran infantry squads helping him out. He also has a regular engineer squad with a flamethrower. It's going to be nasty. Veteran engineers, two regular squads of infantry, a veteran EZ-8 Sherman with a 76 mil gun, a regular M3 half-track. We're going to have a regular bazooka team, a regular anti-tank, M1 anti-tank team, so that Tiger's going to be plenty busy. And then I've got a regular medium machine gun team, and I even had the points in this list to throw in a regular medic. So 1250 points lists for both. We're going to be playing a game of point defense here in this town. We have 3 points on the map. One is the crossroads. One is going to be the flank out here, the farmhouse ruins. And then we have another ruins on the other side of town that the Germans are going to also have to try to hold from the Americans. So really looking forward to this battle. I think it's going to have some units that I've never really gotten to play before. I'm going to be playing as the Germans. Jimmy's going to be playing as the Americans. So we're going to go ahead and do the deployment phase, and then we'll let you know what happened. So stay tuned. Okay, we're back after deployment. I decided to go ahead and just set up every bit of my force on the table to kick off the game. And Jimmy decided to do the same, but the Americans are not going to start the game on the table. They're actually going to come on in turn 1. So he'll kind of like bring them on as if they're kind of spearheading the Germans. But I'll go ahead and show you what I've done. I decided to let the Tiger cover the flanks out here. He's going to be very visible to anybody trying to take this objective. I've got the Mag loaded down with Volksgrenadiers waiting behind this wall. I've got my veteran Waffen-SS with assault rifles kind of helping out the Volksgrenadier, that hopefully going to be supporting them a little bit. I've placed my officer around this wall, so he's going to be kind of seeing what's going on and hopefully providing a little bit of morale. The pack is going to be covering this kind of open area where possibly a Sherman might rumble down the road. I've got the mortar set up, and his spotter is actually hanging out in this house. So he's kind of looking around for targets. And then over here on the extreme right, I've got Waffen-SS waiting in the woods with a clear line of sight on the target. And then I've got my Heer also set up on the extreme flank. So hopefully I've got enough assets to cover the table and cover all 3 objectives. We'll have to see. There's going to be a lot of American steel coming on, so we'll have to see what happens when Jimmy deploys. So we're going to go ahead and play turn 1, and we will let you know what happens. So stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. We've just played turn one. Pretty eventful turn one. So I'll go ahead and go over with what the Germans did first. First of all, the Tiger stayed on ambush for pretty much the entire turn. At the end of the turn, he tried to roll and see if he would be able to fire at those engineers down by the church, and he missed. Or he was not able to, he lost his concentration and just wasn't able to fire. Had the Hanomag move up, and the Volksgrenadiers ended up inside the first floor of this building, so they're waiting in there. I forgot to mention in the deployment that I put my sniper right here in this second floor. He took a shot at Jimmy's bazooka team and missed when the bazooka team came on, so that was unfortunate.
Thank you, Jesus.
We had officer team just went down in support of his men. Veteran Waffen-SS moved up into these ruins, so they're pretty close to contesting the objective, so they should be able to hold that down rather nicely. We had the pack go ahead and go into ambush and ended up taking a shot at some regular troops down the field there, but missed. The mortar team also went into ambush and was unable to spring it at the end of the turn. They just simply lost their concentration. We had the vets move up to this wall, take shots at the regular troops behind this concrete structure here, and missed every shot. We had regulars move up to this spot, and then they ended up taking fire from Jimmy's veterans in the woods and ended up taking 2 casualties. So all in all, pretty uneventful turn for the Germans, and not a great turn. Ended up taking 2 casualties, and Jimmy fared a little bit better. I'm going to explain what he did. He decided to focus most of his force really nicely over here on the left objective. So brought up regular squad, another regular squad, and then his 2 veteran squads to stare down this objective. And there's not just a whole lot of German manpower that are going to be able to hold it down. So that's going to be really interesting. He even brought up his medic to support all of those men. Officer is waiting over here, possibly to issue "You men snap 2" orders. Brought on his Sherman tank pretty early in the game. Took shots at the spotter for the mortar hiding in the ruins, but was unable to hit. Veteran engineers coming up behind the church, focusing no doubt on the middle objective. Bazooka team also moved up into position, kind of ran around the woods there, as you can see, and no doubt hoping to get a lucky shot on that Tiger. He also ended up bringing on his half-track with the medium AT gun, but had gone down with the AT gun before bringing the half-track on, so the half-track is still in tow with that gun. So,
and don't forget, medium machine gun team has begun their ascent into the bell tower.
I did forget that. Yeah, so the medium machine gun team ran into the church, and I'm sure on this next turn they'll be advancing up into the bell tower to be able to kind of command the field. So that's what we're looking at with the Germans right now and the Americans. We're going to go ahead and play turn 2, and we'll let you know how it went, so stay tuned. And we are back after a very exciting turn 2. I guess we'll start over here on the right flank. The Germans took some fire from the woods from Jimmy's veterans, and they decided to go ahead and go down. So they ended up taking a couple of casualties, and so they were down for the game. Jimmy pulled up his regulars and decided to go ahead and try to take the objective. But the veterans that were sitting over here unloaded with all of their their light machine guns and managed to kill all but 4 of Jimmy's regulars. But then in doing that, they took fire from this squad and this squad over here, or I'm sorry, from the Sherman, which we'll find out what happened to next. and ended up getting whittled down to 4 men. So they are now basically just a LMG squad with a couple of loaders. The pack decided to take some shots over here at the regulars and missed. The mortar team also decided to try and fire at the squad over here, the veterans, and missed. The veterans then advanced out of the woods, accompanied by the medic, and they're kind of putting pressure over here on this objective. Meanwhile, the Sherman pulled around, and as you can see, it's been knocked out. It took some shots downrange at the German veterans and whittled them down. But then the Volksgrenadiers jumped out of this building, ran up at their Panzerfaust, and knocked it out completely. And then they opened up with all of their assault rifles at the church, and you'll recall that Jimmy's medium machine gun was in there, and managed to take it out also. So they've really brought down more than their points worth in Americans. And it kind of drew the ire of the Americans. The veterans rolled up, took some shots. Oh, Jimmy's back. Took some shots. The half-track also pulled up and took some shots. And then it even caused the bazooka team to fire a shot at them and kill one of them as well. So they are now down to, they were a 9-man squad. They're now down to 5 men, and they've drawn 3 pins. So they're kind of in a bad way at this point. Meanwhile, their Hanomag pulled around here to the corner, took some shots at these Americans, but missed. The Tiger decided to roll out of its hiding place and take a shot at the gun that Jimmy deployed over here in the woods, and scored a very lucky shot and took them all out. So the Germans have had a pretty decent kind of evening of odds turn. The veterans over here in the rubble were able to take shots on Jimmy's engineer squad. They managed to kill a rifleman, so not much doing there. And the officers just decided to go down. We'll move over here to Jimmy's side of the table. After the Sherman was taken out, the officer team moved up behind this building. The Sherman actually moved over here along with this squad as part of a U-Men snap to action or snap to action. So the officer is really just trying to stay out of sight of the sniper. The sniper took some shots at the gun back when it was still alive, and managed to hit it and pin it, but didn't kill anyone. So it doesn't really matter much now. The gun's taken out. So we're going to go ahead and play turn 3, and we will let you know what happens. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to turn 3. All right, so a lot of things happened this turn. I'm going to go ahead and start over here on this side of the table. First thing that happened was our half-track emptied its guns into this squad right here. Managed to take out 2 of them and put a pin on the squad. The Volksgrenadiers decided to pull back from their exposed area over here. I think that was on the first die, actually. And they were able to do that with the help of their officer that was standing right there. So they are actually safe. The veterans over here took more shots at the veteran engineers over here. Managed to put another pin on them and kill another man. The sniper also took shots on the veteran engineers. Managed to also put a pin on them as well. The Tiger took shots at the half-track, but did not manage to hit them, so that was too bad. Meanwhile, the officers decided to run over here and take up position behind the half-track to avoid them being too close to the Americans, who actually advanced from this area over here. So the pack had a very lucky shot, took a shot downrange, and managed to put 3 pins on these veterans and knock out, I think it was 2 of them or 3 of them?
3.
3 of the veterans over there. So that squad is pinned pretty well, pinned 4 times. It was looking pretty good for the Germans, and we were going to try and go ahead and take the position right here, but failed the orders test, went down. The Americans advanced up, took shots at the Germans at point-blank range, whittled them down to 2 men, and put 3 pins on them. They also received one of those pins from these veterans that came out of the woods and managed to only pin them but not kill them. So there was that. The mortar decided to use the spotter that was hanging out in this building to put some shots over here on the veterans, but actually missed its shot, so maybe it'll be a 5 next time if they're unable to move. The veterans tried to get it together to fire back on these veterans, the veteran engineers that is, but they actually failed their orders test, so they just went down. Meanwhile, over here, back when the officer was standing behind this building, the half-track took some shots at it and missed. The bazooka team took some shots at the half-track, which was actually totally in range and totally out in the open. Didn't even realize that, but they missed. So luckily for the half-track, they didn't inflict any damage. Jimmy's officer decided to go down behind this building. He advanced some people forward. He's really pushing up on this objective over here, but it looks like, and actually, I mean, he's holding the objective, but he's got these pesky Germans here, and then he also fired at the veterans that were over here with this squad right here, and he actually managed only to cause pins and not damage. So the Germans are getting really lucky with their die roll. The thing about the Germans is that there's fewer of them, so they really need to be able to make do with the dice that they have, and they're really managing to do that. But Jimmy still has a lot of options. He still has a lot of dice. He still has die superiority, even though we've taken out several of his units. So we're going to go ahead and play the next turn, turn 4, and we will get back to you and let you know how that went. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back after the end of a very bloody turn 4. Let's start with the Tiger. Tiger did finally manage to find his shot, and he knocked out that half-track before it could really do anything. It was kind of bearing down on the officer and the half-track over here. This squad was going to try and take shots at the officer that was standing right here, but they failed their orders test, so they ended up going down, and that allowed the half-track to pull back as well as the officer, who's now back in his earlier spot. When the officer did pull back, he did take some more shots at these guys with his SMG, but only managed to pin them. The Volksgrenadier tried to rally, but they were unable to move, so they just went down. So they're still down. The veterans took shots over at the vets, or the veteran engineers. Managed to put a pin on them, as always, but didn't manage to kill anyone. The sniper also took shots at the veterans. Sniper, we haven't really got to see him yet. Took shots at the veterans, but didn't manage to kill anybody. So he's still hanging out there. Jimmy has brought up his officer to try and contend with this. So I'm sure the veteran engineers will be trying to do something in the near future. Okay, so let's move over here. The pack took some shots at the squad over there that it fired at earlier, but didn't manage to hit anybody this time. The mortar took shots at the veteran engineers. Missed, but they haven't moved, so it's ranged in at a 4 at this point. The veteran Waffen-SS tried to take shots, but they failed their orders test, so they just went down. And the regular squad, as you can see, was eliminated finally by these regulars. So they are now out of the game. The veterans moved up. They had taken shots at that squad earlier too, but they didn't manage to hit anybody. And this veteran squad, these 3 guys, are actually back in the mix after passing a rally order. So the U.S. is actually primed to control this objective pretty well. They seem to be positioning to take this objective. They might have a little bit of a fight ahead of them to do that, but it looks like they are kind of amassing to do that. The bazooka team did take shots earlier at the half track and managed to hit it, but they did not manage to penetrate. So only managed to cause a pin. This objective over here is looking pretty well undefended, but the Tiger is still in position to do things to control both objectives. So we're going to go ahead and play turn 5. It's looking like we're headed into draw territory, but who knows? Who knows what could happen? We'll go ahead and play this turn, and we'll let you know what happens next. Stay tuned.
I'll attribute that to the 7 to 8 beers that we
Right,
consumed.
exactly.
I've had a blast, and many men have died, and it's
That's
been
right.
a good night for me as far as I'm concerned.
It's been fun. Okay, so we're back after turn 5. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the assault that just occurred over here. Jimmy moved his veterans up to the wall of this building. They took some fire from the mortar, and the mortar missed. So they also took some fire from the Tiger, who decided to drive up the street here, and took some shots at them, managed to kill 1, put another pin on them. But then the veterans decided to assault out of here, and since they were fanatics, it was a bloody assault, and we fought them down to 1 man. But ultimately the engineers won. So the only man left is the flamethrower, and he is just looking for an opportune target, but he has a lot of pins, and he's at a -1 to hit. So if he does hit, it's going to be glorious, but it's going to be very difficult for him. Earlier we were just talking, I just realized that I just totally left this objective undefended by anybody. I thought, for some reason in my head, I just thought like, well, that's just a German objective, but actually, you actually have to take that objective. So that objective is being not held at the moment, and this objective is being contested, and this objective over here is soundly being held by the Americans. But that gives the Germans a new insight into what they have to do to draw the game or even win it. So we're going to be focusing on that for the next, or for this last turn. So if you look here, the half track has moved up, taking shots at this squad, whittled them down to 2. We have some Volksgrenadiers also that have moved up and are waiting to do some damage. The officer team was fired on by Jimmy's officer team, but they missed, but did manage to put a pin on the officers. This officer team was actually assaulted by, if you recall, a group of regulars that were standing right here, and the officer team managed to gun them all down. So it was a bad assault for the Waffen-SS fanatics over here, but a good assault for the officer team over here, who managed to take out an entire regular squad. Meanwhile, this veteran squad is taking fire from both veterans and regulars alike, who are advancing across the field. So they managed to not take any casualties, but they did take a pin. So that's not good for them. Mortar did fire on the veteran engineers, but missed. The Pack 40, for lack of a better target, fired on the medic, but also missed. Very cruel, but you know, it's the end of the war, and the Germans aren't taking any chances. Meanwhile, the bazooka team had fired at the German half-track at its original position over here, but missed because they were in cover. And the sniper fired on the bazooka team, managed to put a pin on them, but did not manage to kill anyone. So they are still taking cover back there behind the burning wreckage of the half-track. And we are going to play the 6th and hopefully final turn. And yeah, hopefully.
One can only hope.
But anyway, we're going to go ahead and play the 6th turn, and then we will get back to you and let you know what the results of the battle were. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. That was the end of the game, turn 6. Jimmy and I both decided that it was getting kind of late, so we're not going to roll for a turn 7. Very unlikely that it would change the outcome anyway. As you can see, the half-track has rolled up with the Volksgrenadiers to contest this objective. They were unable to really kill anybody else in the squad, but they did put down a couple of pins. Meanwhile, we had a firefight erupt over here by the wall. Jimmy's veterans put a lot of shots into my Waffen SS, but only managed to inflict a pin and not a casualty. This squad over here took some shots at the Volksgrenadier and did whittle them down to the 3 men that you see here, but were unable to stop them from running up to the objective. Meanwhile, around here, earlier, Jimmy sent his officer team around the corner here to try and take the objective. They fired up here at the sniper but missed, and my officer came around the wall and fired into them with their various SMGs and managed to wipe them out. The Tiger rolled around the corner, took out the flamethrower, and the bazooka team failed its morale test, so they were unable to do anything about it, which enabled the Tiger to take that objective for the win. So by our standards, the Germans took one objective, and the other objective was contested, and the other objective was completely unoccupied. So the Germans are going to take the win on this game. Let's see, is there anything else that really happened? The pack took a shot at the medics, but once again was unable to hit them, and the mortar fired at the vets and was also unable to hit them. So we hope you guys enjoyed this kind of Rhineland battle report. Let us know if there's like a battle that you would really like to see. I'm working on getting terrain to be able to fight any battle. My goal is to put out, really good terrain, well-painted armies to make some really excellent battle reports for you guys. In the meantime, be sure to follow us on Texas Bolt Action Facebook group and say hi. You can also follow the Bolt Action group and Bolt Action International. I'm really active in those forums. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we hope you have a good day, and I hope to get more of these videos out soon. Thanks.